Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reid, and we have a first-timer with us again, which I know I say that a lot, but I'm always surprised that this many years in, we have new people who have not been on yet. So I want to welcome Raed to the
You got it.
Deep Cuts Live podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited. A first timer.
Yes. Yes, it's funny because we're shooting this at a different time than I'm used to. So people, if you're a close watcher of it, if you're watching this, you can see the sunlight coming in from a different angle. But like I said, I'm excited to have you on the show, and we have a lot to talk about. I felt like, well, actually, I just saw you in another meeting that we were both in on, so it's always
Exactly.
fun to kind of have another kind of like this kind of podcast situation where we get to kind of know each other, and I learn stuff about you and probably the stuff about the industry that I've yet to know. So I'm
I don't
excited.
know about that, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
So as I said, this is your first time on the show, so we'll ask you all the usual like first timer questions, but obviously with deep cuts we like to open up with a different type of question. We'd like to do an icebreaker. So I have my random list of icebreaker questions here, and I'm going to find a good one for you. Um,
Okay.
so, yeah. Okay, here's a good one. So, if you could relive one day of your life exactly as it happened, which would you pick?
If I am to repeat a day from my life exactly how it happens,
Mm-hmm.
I love my typical day actually. I wake up typically at 8 o'clock in the morning. I sit, I have my coffee with my wife. I go to the gym. I come back, I shower, have something to eat, and head out to the office. We typically open at 1 o'clock. So I'm there with my team till about 7, 8 p.m. And then come back, have dinner with the family, and pretty much call it a day. Sit, go to the movies, or sit and watch something with my wife on Netflix. It's a bit of a, for a lot of people, it's a bit of a too much of a routine or too much of a typical, or maybe they would call it boring day. But for me, it's perfect because I get to spend time with my wife. I get to do my business, which I love and I appreciate, and I get to spend time with my daughters, which unfortunately I don't get the chance to do since they are in the U.S. now studying for their university. So that's my typical day, and I love it.
Okay, that's a decent answer, decent reason. So, you're saying a lot of your days can almost feel like the same day, but it's good for you. Like you like it like that.
I love it like that because I love having the opportunity to go to the gym and work out and do some exercise. I actually got the discipline from putting it on my calendar as though it's a meeting, it's an actual meeting. So you'd have somebody from my team, they're like, "Oh, I'd like to meet you on that day at 9 a.m." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I have another meeting somewhere outside." I never committed, I never confessed to the fact that I'm actually going to the gym. But yeah, it's great.
Oh, cool. Well, I know people who are watching this see your name and it says the Leaf Master, which sounds very uh, ominous here in the U.S. because it's like the Beast Master.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I guess we should start there. Like, what is the Leaf Master?
It's funny. I was typing it and I was like, "Right, the Leaf Master," and I'm like, people are gonna misunderstand this, but I just wanted to mention my business. So the Leaf Master is a business of passion that started in 2017. I come from a pure financial background. I'm a person that has been specialized in IPOs, listing companies, taking companies public. I'm a certified public accountant from the US. And in 2017, I had had enough from doing the corporate work, and I decided to sort of open my own consulting business. And I was finishing a transaction in New York, actually, for a client acquiring a hotel for him. And in the process of doing so, I ran out of my cigars. And at that time, I used to only smoke Cuban cigars. So I started, experimenting with non-Cuban cigars while I was in New York, and I loved them. And I decided, wait a second, me and my at that time, my smoking partner, still my partner today, Abdul, we decided, wait, how come these cigars don't exist in our part of the world? Let's start importing them. And sure enough, we started with 7 SKUs. At the time, they were from AJ Fernandez and Oliva. And fast forward today, the Leaf Master is the largest distributor of New World cigars in the Middle East and Africa. We very much specialize in New World cigars, and we consider ourselves as ambassadors and really the forefront of New World cigars in the Middle East and Africa.
So, starting with the bit about the Cuban cigars, because here in the U.S., like if I'm going to the airport and the Uber or Lyft drivers chatty, they say like, "Where are you going?" I'm usually going somewhere for work, and they hear about cigars and they automatically think Cuban cigars everywhere, and I'm like, well, here in the U.S., I was like, we don't get Cuban cigars that much. You have to go elsewhere to get them and stuff like that. But I say,
Correct.
like, as you have said, like I said, the New World cigars are interesting though. And I said, they come out from Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that. I thought cigars just came only from Cuba. And I'm like, no. So as someone who has tried different cigars, like, do you find, for those who have not tried a Cuban cigar, do you find it to be better than some of the New World cigars, or not better, or what makes it so good, or is it just like that mythos surrounding them?
I wouldn't call it better. A lot of people, they like, what do you have against Cuban cigars? You always say New World cigars are better and all of that. And I'm like, I have nothing against Cuban cigars. I am in a country that allows them. I smoke them. They're in my humidor right over there. On the contrary, I've been smoking them for plus 20 years, 20 years plus. But I just find New World cigars with the blending from different regions and the aromas to be so true to the flavor of tobacco. I enjoy it much more. It's funny because for me, after getting into New World cigars, it's very difficult to go back to Cuban cigars because you find them to a certain extent, in my humble opinion, no pun intended, bland, or not having as much of a rich flavor profile as the New World cigars would have. I still smoke Cuban cigars. I would not consider them the best. I think from the New World, there's a lot of amazing examples and amazing producers that have the most phenomenal tobacco. But there's something that's associated with the marketing they've been doing, the fact that they have been in the forefront for the longest time. I mean, give credit where credit is due. The seed and the original of all, or the origin, I should say, of all the families, or the majority of the families that are in the business today, whether Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Honduras, originally came from Cuba and potentially brought in their seeds with them. So, in an interesting way, I don't think we should separate them from one another, but definitely going in a single direction blindly and saying this is better than the other without trying or without opening your palate is just not a fair position. That's why when we got into this business, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping to a different topic, we focused so much on education. We realized that the most important thing is educating the clients. And we've had so many clients walking in with such, I want to say, attitude, or such non acceptance of New World cigars. And when you talk to them about it and when you smoke them, they realize, wait a second, these are good, these are amazing. I use the example of the first time in my life, and it's very true. The first time in my life I tried wasabi, I hated myself. I just thought my girlfriend, who's my wife at the time, was trying to kill me or get rid of me because no palate should accept a flavor like this. Now, for me, wasabi is like an addiction. You never have enough in that little bowl to make it give you that kick you used to get before. So, no one's better than the other. They're both great, but my preference is New World.
And people have heard you in the last couple of minutes, talk about the part of the world that you're in, but I don't know if we've actually stated what part of the world you're in. So tell people a little bit about where you're at, where you're located, what's it like?
Sure. So I'm originally from Jordan. I was born and raised in Kuwait. I studied in the American University in Cairo and then did my CPA in San Diego. I currently live in Dubai. I've been living in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates for the past 28 years, and I've seen it grow to the amazing city it is today. We established the Leaf Master in 2017, opened our first shop at the Hilton Habtoor City in December of 2018, and we just, as a matter of fact, well, last January, we opened our new shop in Abu Dhabi at the Rosewood Hotel, and that's the shop that won the PCA Best of the Leaf Award for the cigar shop this year, and we're proud of that.
So you hear about Dubai here in the U.S. and you don't know exactly what to expect. So, what is living in Dubai like?
Look, it's such a great city. I mean, I can tell you so much about it. I have yet to see a single person that came from the U.S., from any part of the U.S., mind you, from Europe or any other Middle Eastern or Asian country, and did not fall in love with the city. It's very diverse. It's a melting pot of over 130 different nationalities or regions. English is very well spoken. Everybody speaks English here, so you will not have issue with communicating with people because English is educated in the schools. A beautiful party scene, a beautiful night scene, a beautiful culinary scene. Some of the best hotels. Actually, we're reaching the point where some of the best concentration of Michelin star, single, double, and triple star restaurants are actually in Dubai. During the months of, I would say, April to no, not sorry, from October or September all the way to April, the weather is brilliant. You can swim throughout. You can still swim now, but the summer is hot. I mean, the humidity can get to 70-80%, and the temperature can get to like 49, 50 degrees sometimes centigrade. The freedom is great. The ability to live the life that you want. Oh, obviously there are certain exceptions, but it's a beautiful city where all the different nationalities and all the different religions blend. For example, you go to Abu Dhabi and there's a place, an educational place that has a church, a synagogue, and a mosque in the same place, which I think is brilliant because they're all about the tolerance here. Great malls, great shopping, great roads, safety. Safety is just brilliant. I mean, I don't lock my door. My key remains in my car. It's actually spoiling for my kids because when they travel, the first thing they lose is their phone. It's just becoming a joke because here you leave your phone, you're at a cafe, you leave your phone, your wallet, you go somewhere, you want to go to the gents' room, you go back, everything's there. People don't touch your stuff. So the safety here is brilliant, but it's kind of spoiling too. So overall, I think for me, I could not have asked for a better city to live in. They love cigars, they love tobacco, so that's even a big plus. And you can enjoy your drink, so who can ask for more?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the laws and stuff that they have in Dubai. Like here in the U.S., and especially being part of PCA, you hear about different areas of the U.S. It's easier to smoke or have a cigar store in this state versus this state. One state might say you can't smoke at the beach. Another state says go ahead and do it. So what's that? So are you saying like the laws in Dubai kind of are good for smokers, or is like open? So, or is it a little bit more restrictive?
They're very good for smokers. I wouldn't call them restrictive because you have so many. I mean, you can smoke anywhere outdoor. Pretty much, you can smoke as long as you're outdoor. You can smoke anywhere, whether it be at the beach or a park or what have you. A lot of restaurants allow you to smoke. A lot of clubs allow you to smoke. There's a lot of obviously cigar lounges and bars. You're allowed to smoke. I had as a guest in town William Cooper, Cigar Coop in town, and I took him to multiple places, and he was absolutely floored by the amount of amazing places I took him to smoke within literally 2 square kilometers of area, whether be it lounges or restaurants. He was shocked. We're indoor, we're in an amazing Italian restaurant, and we're smoking our cigars. And then I take him to a jazz club, amazing jazz club, and we're smoking our cigars. And then we go to a couple of cigar lounges. So it's very, very smoker friendly. And that's one of the biggest things I'm very excited about in terms of how comfortable it will be with the upcoming show in November. And I know we're going to speak about that at a later time, but I think everybody that comes to Dubai feels welcomed from the aspect of um, being able to smoke. Look, like any country, there are certain places where you are not allowed to smoke, certain restaurants, certain indoor areas where you are not allowed to smoke. But I would say for the most, it's a place where you will always find a place to smoke, if not within a walking distance, within a 5 minute, 10 minute car ride.
So what do you think the US could learn from basically the Dubai culture? Because like what you described, like you said, when your children come over here, is like completely different. You know, like if you leave something somewhere, you just might as well think in most cases it's gone. You know, you can't you have to lock your
Yeah,
cars. You have to lock
yeah,
your
yeah,
doors.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Smoking culture, like I said, in different states and even different cities have really restrictive laws. Like where I am, like you're not even allowed to smoke on the sidewalk. Like that's against the law. So like
Oh,
when you
wow.
hear things like that, and you're in a different culture, like what do you think the U.S. could learn from maybe like that Dubai culture?
Look, it's if you want to think about the taboos okay, so let me answer you that question in a different way. The four main don'ts as far as the UAE, as far as Dubai is concerned: zero tolerance for drinking and driving. So don't ever drink to drive. So there's no the point two, point three, whatever, all of that stuff. Zero drinking and driving. Obviously, zero for drugs or consumption of any kind of a drug, even prescription drugs that you don't have the right to consume because you don't have the prescription. Um, no public demonstration of affection. They're not into that. Mind you, people wear whatever they want, but touching your partner's private parts in public or making out in public is not something that is legal. And people don't have the tendency to be overly open about religious and political decisions because discussions in public, because it's all about coexistence. So they don't really like having these discussions. You want to have those discussions within your household, good for you, but not something that's overly done outside. So what can they learn is giving the people the right to make the choice sometimes, I guess. The contradictions I see in the US in terms of the kind of freedom the alcohol business gets away with, yet the cigar business does not, just is mind blowing. The amount of stickers that need to be on boxes or what have you, vis a vis nothing on a bottle of wine or nothing on a bottle of scotch or vodka, what have you. The fact that alcohol can advertise, cigars can't advertise. The fact that you can drink pretty much everywhere, but you cannot smoke everywhere. I think going back to the main concepts of freedom, I think is something that should be considered.
Well, I do wish we had some of those laws here, like public displays of affection. Like we need. It just drives me crazy.
You're in the mood. Go to your home. Go.
Right,
You don't have to deal with this.
exactly. Like we don't need to see it. Like sometimes you see it in such
Exactly.
like weird places. It's cringy to me. I'm just like, oh. But anyway, but I get exactly what you're
Exactly.
saying.
Exactly.
So like,
But really, I honestly love living here because as you can build the life that you want. You can live the life that you want. Entertainment is available. Amazing facilities. Yes, a lot of people tell you, "Oh, it's too new. There's no culture." No, there is culture. There's an opera house. There's an amazing scene of concerts and arts. There's beautiful museums. Museum of the Future in Abu Dhabi. The Guggenheim is about to open in a couple of months. So there is a lot of culture. So whatever you are interested in, you'll find the venue to enjoy, so long as it is without reason, obviously.
Yeah, I know you're super active, like in the PCA, which is all about advocacy and fighting for
Correct.
people's rights to enjoy smoking when they want to and building a business of retail tobacco. So, what's your reasoning for like supporting PCA? Because I think some people will hear what you're going through and they'll say like you're in a good position, but their state has just um, added on a cigar tax or something like that. So, what are you like? What's your motivation for being such a big advocate of the industry and
I
getting
love this
involved with
question. I
U.S.
love this question. Great question. So I started in this business in 2017, and what I realized is the we do have the culture as far as cigars and people that are passionate about cigars and all of that stuff, but we don't have the sort of advocacy, the legal approach, and the setup, the proper setup for this. So people say we're in a good place because they automatically assume you live in Dubai, there's a lot of money, everything is available. But no, the cost of living is not cheap. I mean, you have to live here. There's a certain kind of living that you have to achieve. But we also have 250% compounded taxes on our cigars. 200, you heard me right, 250%. So, really, at the end of the day, if you import a cigar for $1 and apply, let's say, 25% of gross profit on the importation cost, you have to sell that cigar at $6.50. So you import it at $1, it ends up being $6.50, and what you're achieving is a mere 25% of gross margin, not even a net margin. So we have those things. So I realized that there's an uphill battle against cigars and smoking cigars in general. I realized that they are putting cigars within the same hat, if you may, as cigarettes and as shisha tobacco. And for me, that did not make sense. So I wanted to learn from other people's experiences, and I started researching, and I came across the PCA. And obviously, we had to go to the PCA to learn. So that was the first show that we went to in 2018. And I realized there's so much potential. And one day, by coincidence, I came across an email that the PCA is going for their having their the what do you call them, elections for the new board and what have you. So I was like, you know what, I've served on so many boards before, and let me give that a shot. So I ended up on two of the committees of the PCA now for almost a year plus, which is the content committee with you, and the other committee, which is the show committee. And I learned so much, and in the process of learning, I realized, wait, so there's a show in the US, and every time we go to the US, we're like, my God, you flew all the way for the show. And there's a show in Germany, which is Intertabak, but there isn't a proper cigar show that's happening in our part of the world. A cigar show that handles or covers Middle East, Africa, Asia, Indian subcontinent in general. And with all what's happening in the political scene and reservations that are happening in this day and age, not a lot of people have the capacity or the ability to get the visa to go to the US for the PCA, or get the visa, the Schengen, to go to Europe. So it made sense to create a show in Dubai, because everybody is welcome in Dubai. Getting a visa is very simple. It's an economy that based, I would say, for the most on services and tourism. Dubai as an emirate does not actually have petrol. The business or the GDP of the country is based on services and tourism. That's why you have a lot of companies that establish their headquarters here. There's the Dubai International Financial Center, which is equivalent to the London Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, which I used to be the CFO of. That's established there for a lot of companies set up. So you find Microsoft and all of these guys and what have you have their headquarters for the Middle East here. So it just makes sense for us to do this. And discussions started happening at the PCA, and I'm very glad that we reached the point to decide that we need to take this to the next level, and we need to be part of a show, of a cigar show, or that will happen in Dubai, and that's the one that's coming in November.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is, I think, is the official title is World Cigar Show Dubai, and so
Correct.
um, I think it's new to some people, but it's an offshoot of another tobacco show that's, I think, going on nearby. But this one's just for cigar stuff, so it's kind of
Correct.
right down the alley of PCA, what you would expect. So, what can you tell? I mean, you've already kind of given us a good little introduction to this, but I think people are still kind of curious, like what is this like? And from the perspective of, do they need to come out to it? So I guess speaking first to the manufacturers out there who are listening, like, how important could this show be to them opening up new markets for themselves?
I think it's definitely not to be underestimated. I think it's extremely important simply because the culture of cigars is growing in our part of the world very rapidly. Excuse me. A lot of brands have established or have realized the importance of the international market and how they need to diversify their business between the US and Europe and other international markets. So while many of the brands, I remember when we first started, many of the brands are like, look, we have no interest in the Middle East now, don't have the time for this. I have a lot of demand from the US or what have you. But then they realize that they have to diversify their business. And all of a sudden, many of those brands are coming here. Now, many of those brands are already in the UAE, potentially in Qatar, potentially in Bahrain, but they're not all over the GCC or the Gulf Cooperation Council or the Middle East in general. So it is a show that will be open for producers or brands in general, tobacco brands in general. It will be also open for businesses that will be doing this importation or trading of cigars and tobacco. And obviously, it will be very much B2B. It's not going to be open as a B2C kind of a show. It's 100% 2 days B2B, and I'm very excited about it because I personally will get the chance to show people my Dubai. I know I sound like a CNN, advertisement at this point, but my Dubai and the Dubai that I'd like to show everybody is a beautiful one. So we're going to have a lot of amazing social events on the beach, in the desert, in different parts of the city, and just to show you how welcoming and how amazing this city is.
Now, I think there are a lot of people too who are like, just like, do we need another trade show? So what do you say to those people who say, here in the US, you have several trade shows, and now in the first quarter of the year, you have a trade show, and like you said, in Germany, now we're adding a trade show in Dubai. So what do you say to those people about, like, I know that some brands are, but so big, they only have but so much budget. What do you say to those people who are kind of like on the fence about, do we invest our time and resources in adding on another trade show? Like, is it that important? As you said, there are some who are thinking like, this isn't really our market. What do you say to those people who are kind of on the fence and have kind of like a lot of negative things to kind of fight against before they can say yes?
My answer to them would be, I really understand where you're coming from, but let me share a couple of factoids with you. Um, yes, the show in November is too close to the show of Intertabac that's happening in September or in the second half of September. However, it's very much the show in Intertabac, in my opinion, with people unable to get visas and what have you. It's very much focused on Europe or people that have easy access to those visas. So you have a lot of people from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia that are unable to attend these shows. There are great markets there that are yet not tapped. So the potential for the growth of your brands in these markets are great. The third point, which is what I'm doing for all the brands that are associated with the Reef Master, we took a huge pavilion in the actual show itself. And what we did is we did pods for people or for brands to know exactly, because I mean, shows typically they can be successful from the first year, pick up from the second year, and become amazing by the third year. But still, you still don't know the level of success that it's going to happen. First of all, it's PCA and courts. None of those two parties that are involved in this have ever done or invested in a failure of a concept or a project. So that tells you that these people have the background, have the experience, have the platform, and have a client base to make this a success. That's one. Two, the pavilion that the Leaf Master is providing will tell you exactly how much you're going to invest. And literally, what I do is and I don't want to sound like I'm pitching the pavilion, because it's not about the Leaf Master, it's not about the pavilion, but it's about giving you the comfort that you can decide the budget within which that you want to function within. So now the people that are coming to the pavilion and the Leaf Master, they know that their costs for approximately 8 or 9 square meters is going to be $2,500. That includes your stand, your place where you can keep your products, and show your products, your logo, your chairs, your meeting table, and what have you. So all what you have to worry beyond that is your ticket, your hotel, and hotels here are great and very reasonable prices of all budgets, obviously, and your meals. So it is designed in a way for the first year where it's not expecting you to overinvest. And what's happening is it's happening at the same time with another tobacco show that's adjacent. So the amount of attendees is going to be amazing. I was just recently in a show that the same people had, the courts people, and ironically enough, not to make any reference to it, but it was during the time where there was some political conflict happening in the Middle East. That was about a couple of weeks ago. Yet they managed to get over 7,000 or 9,000. Actually, it was approximately 12,000 attendees in a span of 2 days. So it's quite impressive. Why? Because people come to Dubai to do business. It's a very important trade hub. It's a hub where the concept of free zones is applied to the T, something that we as the Leaf Master are taking full advantage of. So give it a shot, even if you call it a fact-finding trip, even if you decide not to have your brand, come attend. Because I kid you not, if the first year was great, the second year is going to be phenomenal, and it's going to be uphill from there. I mean, it's going to be up and forward from there, not uphill as being.
And I know
I had to correct that one.
And I know that, for those who are attending, because I think having worked in a trade show environment for several years now, I know that's always a big question of people who are exhibiting, like who's going to be there, and they want like big names and certain clientele. So I know that they're used to the U.S. trade show market now. They know what to expect from that. So coming to Dubai might be a little bit different for them if they don't participate in some of the shows like Tab Expo and some of these other kind of trade shows like that. So what can they, what kind of people should be attending the show, do you believe? And like, what can they expect in terms of attendees, so that how do they need to prepare for who they might speak to at the show if you're an exhibitor?
No, if you're an exhibitor, you're going to have a lot of people coming. I was very excited the other day to hear that a lot of the duty-free platforms in this part of the world are attending. They've gotten to know about the show and they want to be part of it. And it's very interesting because in September, you have the duty-free event or trade show that happens in Cannes. Yet they still want to come to the event that's happening here in Dubai pre the one in Cannes. These are the duty-free. So you'll be getting retailers, wholesalers, duty-free platforms, shops coming and wanting to buy and trade cigars and tobacco. So it's no different than the kind of client base that you will get, or the type of clients categories you will get if you are exhibiting in, let's say, PCA or Intertabac. It's a wide variety of people that want to trade in cigars and tobacco.
And say I'm a brand owner and I own like a kind of small brand and my budget is kind of constricted. How do I go about, and I know this might be a complicated question, but it's always one that I think we don't tackle enough for people to understand how to expand. But how do I go about getting my brand into an international market? Like if I'm based, my cigars are made in Nicaragua, let's say. I have an office here in the U.S., or I go back and forth between the U.S. And then you're telling me that there's going to be a trade show in Dubai that can open up new business. Like, how do I even start? Because I think that maybe that is kind of like the pain point for some people. Like I won't say they're embarrassed, but they don't want to like seem like they don't know like how to start getting out and expanding. Like, how did it? What do you tell those brand owners that want to get into an international market? Like, and they, like I said, they feel like they can't afford to right now. They don't have the bandwidth. How do they start to set themselves up to get into like these other markets overseas?
I mean, there's two ways of doing it, depending on your budget, obviously. Um, you can cold turkey get in touch with people that are already in this part of the world, whether shops or distributors or all of that stuff. The only problem with something like this is it might not always be a successful one, or it might put you in a position where they feel that they cannot negotiate the rates in a good way because he's the one that's approaching you. As far within the context of the discussion that we're having now about the show, this upcoming show in November, Cigar World, um, you can either have a booth to the size that you want or come and attend. Yes, there's a cost associated with that. But if you are getting into the cigar business and are shying away from investing in a couple of shows or in something like this, where the overall cost to get into it is not prohibitive, I would think again if I were you. And I don't mean to undermine anybody. Yes, I understand sometimes $1,000 or $2,000 can be an expensive thing. But unfortunately today, there because cigars, you and I know, cigars are all about touching, feeling, smelling the cigar, smelling the tobacco, smoking that cigar, getting a connection with that cigar. Um, and it's not something that I can sell to you just over a Zoom call or what have you. So personal presence, and it's very easy for Dubai. As a matter of fact, I've been checking the other day, and flights from Central America or the US to Dubai on Emirates or Etihad, which goes to Abu Dhabi, is in the range of 1,500 on economy dollars, US dollars. It's not as prohibitive as people expect it to be. So if you're serious about this, this show is a golden opportunity for you to tap into thousands of people that are flying in from Africa, from Asia, from India, and from the Middle East.
And you've helped to bring in, as you say, New World cigars to this Dubai, to this market. What have people, like, I guess people who come to Leaf Master, what have they kind of said about some of these cigars? Because I'm sure that some of these cigars are new to them, like they haven't tried them before, or like what's that experience like for them, like when they do discover something new in your humidor that they haven't tried before?
This is where the training of my team becomes extremely important, and this is where, okay, so if you think about the team that we have, none of my team members come from a cigar background, and this was very important to me because I didn't want anyone to come in with a preconditioned mind of what a cigar should or should not be, or that cigars should be Cuban, or the Cuban is up there and the rest is down, or what have you. So it was very important for me to start on a clean palate, very clean mind that's willing to learn. And we educated and trained our team to basically understand the palate of the clients that come in. And not only that, my experience and my partner's experience in smoking Cubans is made us able to basically, if you tell me that you smoke a D4 Partagas, or if you tell me that you smoke what have you from the Cuban cigars, chances are I've smoked that cigar and I know several times, and I know exactly the kind of direction you want, whether be it on the flavor profile, the strength, and potentially a bit of the aroma. And this is the kind of information that we pass on to our team. So we've had a lot of people that walked in and they walk like that and they're like, you don't understand, I've been smoking Cuban cigars for 20 years. Yet I feel I am at a recent point in my life today by stepping into your shop and I don't know what to do. I feel like somebody that, and they're like, it hurts. I feel incapacitated, unable to decide on my own cigars because I don't know these cigars. So we walk them through the cigars, we walk them through the brands, we walk them as to the regions of these tobaccos, how these cigars are done, because stories at the end of the day make a huge difference. So education is something that we've been investing in. I've had clients that walk in and I spend an hour with him and he walks out with one cigar or maybe nothing. And I've had clients that you spend half an hour with him and he walks out with 30 cigars. But rest assured that whoever comes into that shop and gets the kind of attention and education that we give him do come back and buy more. Even if he did not buy the first time, he's going to get intrigued and he's going to think about it and he's going to come back.
Yeah, I don't think people realize like how much interactions with actual people, the role that it plays in you liking a cigar or even trying a cigar. Because there's been times when, I may read about a cigar. Obviously, I get lots of press releases, but they all look the same in a PDF. So, as you said, like usually, you look at a picture, you go, "Oh, that looks cool, like nice man,"
Yeah.
but you don't buy it. Sometimes you do, but for the most part, like if I actually meet the person who helped bring that cigar to life or the brand owner, and I have a good interaction with them, I'm more prone to like go, "Oh, okay, I'll drop some money on that."
Exactly. And the thing is, Reed, it's very important for us to keep on telling our team the best cigar is the cigar you love. It has no aspect or no relationship of how expensive that cigar is. I always tell them if they drink, it's like a bottle of wine. I can give you an $8 bottle of wine that you love and is phenomenal and it's your favorite drink, and I can give you a 300 bottle of wine that's not necessarily something that you are going to love. It's just a matter of your palate, what are the flavors, what are the aromas that you enjoy, and I have people that actually, when I recommend a cheaper cigar, they get offended, and I'm like, look, I'm not offending you. I smoke this cigar. There's nothing wrong with this cigar. The fact that this cigar is X does not make it worse or better than any other cigar. It is the cigar that I love and enjoy. Um, Cubanesque flavor profiles of certain cigars help us a lot in making the people understand, especially if they have not smoked before. There's a lot of cigars, key cigars in the New World category in general that have a lot of Cubanesque flavor profiles, and those help us a lot because if you want to bring the smoker, from our humble experience, if you want to bring the cigar smoker from one side of the river to the other, from being a Cuban smoker to the other side, it cannot be an abrupt jump. You need to take him through a process of other cigars that are not Cuban but have a Cubanesque flavor profile, and slowly take him to the boom, hardcore. Brazilian tobacco AJ Fernandez cigar that just came out, that's full of flavor, so rich, and not like any other Cuban cigar you've ever smoked in your life. Now, if you give them this all of a sudden, it's going to be a huge, abrupt change for them. And so taking it gradually, I think, is key.
And with you were saying when you're talking about bringing people in, it made me curious about the type of people you're seeing kind of come into this cigar lifestyle. Because I know here in the U.S., you're seeing more, women are being more visible, and I think they've always been a part of the industry. But now, when I got into the industry in 2010, it was a man's world. Like you didn't see women unless they were kind of like arm candy or objectified in
Correct.
an ad and stuff like that. But now you see them being like equals and they're equally engaged and interested. Like, do you see that in Dubai, or is it still kind of a male dominated kind of I don't want to call it hobby, but lifestyle.
Oh, we have a lot of amazing female cigar smokers. There are female cigar clubs. Females come to a lot of the events that we do. I have a lot of females that come to the shop. I have females that come, with the typical Middle Eastern full veil, so that you don't know who's under that veil, and she buys her cigars. I have women that send me their butler or their driver to pick up their cigars. Female smokers, it's currently, I would say, yes, it is dominated by males, but the females are definitely catching up. They're realizing the joy of cigars, and not only realizing the joy of cigars. So in our part of the world, women smoke shisha. It was a taboo for women to smoke shisha before, or hookah, as you call it in the U.S. But now it's very normal for you to go to any social setting and find that females are smoking their shishas. Now with cigars, it's funny because they smoke cigarillos or clubs or what have you, but they would not smoke like a 6x60 or what's it called, because again, it's still considered a taboo. But that's changing, and you're finding women that are smoking more, how shall I say, bigger gauges of cigars, because they're just realizing the differentiation between the different sizes and enjoying it, as a matter of fact.
And I don't know about the culture in Dubai, but I know here in the US, some retailers are, I don't want to say surprised, but sometimes they're taken aback by the diversity that they see in their stores. Like they don't it's like one of those things that they can't talk about out loud because they don't want to come off as being, completely unknown. But it's like they're surprised, like that so many different types of people like cigars. It's like, so you see that diversity also in Dubai, I would take it, being where you are and being the
Oh,
hub
oh
of.
my God! Oh my God, Reed. I mean, you touched it. You're smack on. Um, 3 months after I opened my first shop, March of 2019, the interactions I've had with so many of the clients that enter the shop has shocked me. So I decided to just write a page, if not every day or every other day, once a week, that basically summarizes my week or my experiences during that week. And I'm telling you, if I continue, that thing is going to be a book, and it's beyond hilarious. It's beyond hilarious.
I can imagine.
Are you there? Yeah, there you go. It's the experiences we go through in terms of what people want, what people say, how people might have different uses for certain accessories you have. It's just mind blowing. And what's beautiful about cigars, as you already know, is it just breaks the barriers. Cigar smokers, when they're together, they believe that they can be very open and very intimate. And you might have not seen the person ever in your life, but you were sitting in a bar having a cigar. He comes next to you, he lights up the cigar, and automatically there's that connection that is built there and then. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, you guys are sharing some very intimate details about your lives or about your preferences and everything. And that happens to me a lot in the shop.
So at this point in our interview, I usually like to kind of wrap things up with two questions. So the first of those questions is, do you have a philosophy that you live or work by?
Your team. Your team. I mean, every month I get my team together for a breakfast at my house. And interestingly enough, the team today, we're here at my house. We have breakfast together once a month, and we talk about everything. That once a month, it's us being a family. We're all brothers and sisters. We talk about the business. Everyone gives his idea. I've done corporate life for a long time. I was successful at it. I enjoyed it, but up to a certain point, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. The politics, the psychological challenges that you have to go through on a day-by-day basis is something I refuse to have in my company. And I try as much as possible for my team to feel comfortable and happy. Um, Having said that, I admit I'm a very demanding business owner, boss, whatever you want to call me. But that's the way it is in this line of business. It's a line of business that is very well regulated. If you don't manage your cash flows very closely, it'll kill you. Um, and I love my clients. I love being close to my clients. No matter how much the business grows, I will always be at least twice or three times a week in my shop for 4 hours at minimum to basically keep my finger on the pulse, understand my clients, and listen to what they want.
The last of the questions is I want you to finish the sentence. Right?
Okay.
Is
Passionate. You want a full sentence?
no. I think
Oh,
that says enough.
Yeah, passionate.
Well, like I said, I've learned a lot about you and your business through this interview. So I thank you for coming on today. And for those people who are maybe listening to the audio version of this, do you mind telling them what website, what social media they need to follow in order to get in touch
Sure.
with you or learn more about your business?
Sure. Thank you for that. So we are very much focused on Instagram. We have not had a website as of yet, simply because the laws here are gray about whether you can have a URL that's from the country or not. So I was never able to decipher that. So what I did was focus a lot of our efforts. We love the videos that we post. They're all very natural videos. They're not scripted, and you'll enjoy them. So you'll find at the Leaf Master Cigars Dubai, cigars with an S. The Leaf Master Cigars Dubai is our Instagram handle, and we would love you to follow us. We'd appreciate it, in fact.
And for those who are wondering more about the World Cigar Show, I think it's pretty easy to just Google World Cigar Show Dubai, and you should come across the website, and
Exactly.
you can register your interest or just go ahead and start booking a booth, because I know that booth space is starting to fill up. So
Yes.
Now's the time to kind of jump on that.
We're very excited. There's a lot of great names that are already have completed their registration. The likes of Perdomo, AJ Fernandez, Oliva, Placencia, all are great brands that are getting on board, and we're very excited about that.
Awesome. Well, you'll have to come back on at some point and talk to us more, maybe after the trade show, to kind of let us know how it went, and give people a little bit more insight into what's in store for Dubai and that whole market.
I would absolutely love that, with pleasure. If you're ever coming to Dubai, by being on our Instagram account, drop me a line. I'll be more than happy to, if you're coming in the mood to have a cigar with us, please do. If you want advice as to where to go, where to eat, where to go out, what to do with your time, we'll be more than happy to guide you through that.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening and watching today's episode. And if you want to catch any of this episode or any of the other episodes of Deep Cuts Live, you can do so at youtube.com/deepcutslive. And we're also on all the different podcasting networks. So leave a review. We love reviews. Hit that like or follow button. And until next time.